Right, good afternoon. Seeing the gubbins behind the tech going on. Right, so just after Tuesday, 2 p.m. Every Tuesday's question time with Dill, the party wall guy. So let's make a start. We're live on YouTube. Welcome. Mucking something up. Right, good afternoon. Sorry, feedback from YouTube. Okay. Right. Quick introduction. My name's Dill Gujral. I'm the Chief Party Wall Surveyor at 1996 Party Wall, specialist party wall surveying company. Every Tuesday after 2 p.m. we do a question and answer session on the Party Wall Act. So let's get going this week's presentation. Really exciting stuff here, really exciting news. I'm going to give you some in a minute. I've got to go through the roundup. So keep your questions coming in. If you're on a phone, you'll see them at the bottom of your phone, wherever you're watching from. Okay, so get your questions in. I'm going to quickly run through last Thursday's special announcement. Last Thursday we did I was very lucky to be the host for Virtual Architects Business Growth Conference. Sorry, Virtual Architects Business Growth Summit. And this week I thought I'd give you a little rundown of all the presenters we had on. All the videos and all the entire summit will be coming on the YouTube channel. So watch out for it coming on here. And really interesting summit. The aim of the summit was how we can help architects to grow their business and get more by doing less. And we had some really great speakers on there. Let me give you a breakdown of who we had on there. Once it's on our YouTube channel, it should be on there next week. You're more than happy to go and watch on there and take your time. Okay, so we had a packed agenda and I'm going to go through each of the speakers. Basically, I think we had 9 speakers, really great information. So take some time out. It'll be on YouTube. I think by next Tuesday's show, I'll just remind you again. And I'm going to run through all the speakers. So don't worry if you can't see this slide. I'm going to run through them individually, what to look out for and what to watch for. So first of all, we were really lucky to get David Kemp, a planning consultant, really knows his stuff, 27 years of experience, of planning experience via the law side. So he's a solicitor, he's a barrister, and a RICS chartered surveyor. His career started working with the councils, so he really knows his planning stuff. Very lucky to get him on, as you can imagine, with all the new changes going on in 2020. He spared us a whole hour, went through all the potential developments, and David is very commercially minded, so he'll say, and if you watch his presentation carefully, he does say, at the moment, the property's high, overheating. There's the expectations unrealistic, and also he gives tips on where to look out for in terms of potential possible acquisitions and possible value to be gained. So really good presentation, watch out there. And the timing, let me get my pointer on. So basically the way I've configured these slides is, this is where David Kemp's presentation starts. It starts at 5 minutes in, if you're watching the whole summit. I'm going to try and get it broken down so you've got individual videos. And this is a subject he talks about, new planning updates 2020. So unless you've had your head in the clouds, you realize that from 31st of August, the whole planning system sort of turned upside down. There's all various stuff going on. You can add double story extensions, single story extensions. You've got Class E, all that gubbins going on. So look out for David's presentation. And next speaker we had, really great, another great speaker, really lucky to get this chap on. His presentation started 1 hour and 6 minutes in. His name's Jackiggins. Don't be fooled by the model good looks. He does do occasional modeling, but that's a different joke we've got running between us. So Jackiggins, very young chap, but don't be fooled by that. He does development, sourcing, and deal making, and his presentation is really, really informative. Now, I've been on courses that have taught you much less, given you much less detailed strategies than Jack's presentation, and he takes about an hour. Really, really worth watching. Please go and watch this. You will see amazing ways of working. And basically, Jack has a property company. He works with another architect. He goes through his entire business model. This chap really opens the can up and says, this is how we do this. This is how we spend our effort. This is how we go and acquire the deals. This is how we go and vet the deals. And he's talking you through the entire process. And, you know, I think we were really lucky to get him on. And since his last presentation, it's become even more detailed. And he did a special presentation, especially for us, in terms of how his business model actually works. So if you're in the property business, you're an architect, and you want to work out how these things work, this is one of the presentations you really need to watch. Now, as I keep saying, it should be on our YouTube channel next Tuesday. By next Tuesday, we'll try and get it on sooner if we can. But watch out for this young man. Really interesting stuff. And I wish he was running a course. I'd be on it like a shot. The next speaker we had, Peter B, really good friend of mine. We're lucky to get him on again. Really quiet chap, but really knows his stuff. He's got quite a significant little business running in the UK. His presentation started at 2 hours and 5 minutes into the whole summit. So Peter's business is space photo, but don't be fooled by the title. These are all the services they're offering. One of the reason I invited him on, and we really wanted him to work together on this, was he's got a significant amount of clients. Now, the service they offer that's really useful if you're an architect or you're a developer is that they go and scan sites and building projects with amazing technology and create what they call a rivet model. So basically, the upshot is if you're in the planning game or if you're an architect, you contact Peter, get his guys to go out there and do a scan, and all of the information comes back to you on a cloud. You literally don't even have to leave your office to go and do surveys for clients. Now, some of the, as you may well know, I'm a party wall surveyor, and some of the projects I get involved in, we look at sites and development, potential development sites, warehouses, and you know, some of the sites we go to, they're 3 stories high, except there's no floors and no ceiling. So literally, you're looking at 3, 4, 5-story buildings with no inside. So there's no way to actually go up there and measure all the stuff that you need to measure before you can model it for planning. And particular sites that I've been on that come to mind is, it was a shop front. The shop front was still there, 3 stories high behind the facade, and there's nothing in the background. Not only is there nothing in the background, it's an open site, and at the back, there's somebody's warehouse, and we can't even measure it with laser measuring distances. So, and I remember at that time they'd created a rivet model in terms of the pre-modeling, and there's no other way of doing this sort of stuff, and it's just basically have one of these scan services in. Now, I think Peter was if memory serves, Peter said the machine that they use for this costs 20 to 30,000. They'll go out and do it so that you don't even have to leave your office, and you can have as much capacity as you want, because a lot of our time as in the property business, in the property world, gets taken up by going to site and doing surveys and the travel time. So, you know, you travel there for a couple of hours. If it's further afield, you could end up going 2 or 3 hours. You spend about an hour scanning and taking photographs, measurements. You're on the journey back. And from my past experience of measurement surveys where I worked with architects, there's always something that gets missed. So if you've missed something in the past and you've done your plans, don't worry, you are not the only one. I've seen it so many times, it's quite normal to miss those things. Our next speaker was no doubt the legendary Mr. Ranjit Singh. No property meet is complete without the Property Investor News, and this is a really great magazine. He'll be on later on. Let me make sure I've let people on, otherwise I might have messed something up. Yep, he'll be on later on. I'm pleased to have him on board. Really great magazine. If you don't subscribe, please subscribe. Worth its weight in gold almost. Okay, moving on. One of our sponsors, Rent Kitchens, here's the details, and you'll find their little presentation. It's only a 2-minute presentation. Basically, all the details are on this slide. If you're in the planning business and you want a kitchen quote, if you're serving clients, contact Sanj. Here are his details, mobile and email, and he'll create a kitchen plan for you so you can put it in with your clients' folders. Again, if you're an architect in the planning business, really great service. Add it on for your clients. Makes you look like a hero or a heroine, you know. So really like these guys. I don't own shares in Rent Kitchens, but it's just really interesting to work with. Okay, moving on. One of our major sponsors and super good guys. I'm actually a part of this organization, so declaring interest there. They allowed us to broadcast live on Facebook. Very good of them. Their presentation in terms of what they do starts 3 hours and 30 seconds in. This is what the video editors tell me. And every Thursday, if you're familiar, they also do a interview session. So property professionals, there's their website, thepropertyprofessionals.org. They have a Facebook page. All this content is on Facebook page. The summit was broadcast live on Facebook Live. And every Thursday we do an interview. One of their team is a marketing chap, really sharp guy. And his presentation was something new. I haven't seen this before, actually. 3 hours, 9 minutes and 30 seconds in. He talks about a brand card, which is basically a business card that's virtual. So nowadays, everybody's zooming in. No one's doing real meetings at the moment. And fingers crossed, the second wave doesn't cause us too many problems, but really fascinating idea. You put all your links and your social media stuff on there, bingo, and you could share it with people and that link up live. So it saves you having to update your cards. Basically, these links are live and you could share this as with Zoom meetings. And it goes in, apparently, as I understand, it goes into people's contacts straight. So you don't get a pile of cards, as we all do from networking meetings, gets left aside and then you can't find the person you're looking for. You spend hours on it. Really super good idea. Okay, moving on. Yes, Akhil. We were very lucky to get Akhil on taking time out from his mortgage business. He's a mortgage broker that's focused on commercial development projects. So where you've got planning being done, and not only for commercial development projects, also on the residential side. So increasingly we find that, you know, we're all having to work from home. Things can get difficult, should we say. Most people are at home and they're, you know, it's not the same setup as before. You're not there to relax. You need to get some work done, and there's not always enough space. So people at the moment are looking to do extensions, loft conversions on houses that you'd say, that's a massive house. You don't need a loft conversion. And the reason they're doing it is partially so that they can create some quiet space for them to work in. Now, one of the services Ezekiel offers is funding for those, you know, extra add-ons and extra extensions. And the really nice part is if you're an architect, you recommend a client, they have what they call a referral scheme where, you know, if your client becomes their customer, they'll give you a referral fee for it. So hence the title, you plan it, we'll fund it and pay you for it. So nice idea there. Contact Ezekiel, that's his details. If you want to listen to his services, very detailed. And we've actually done a training that should be coming up on a YouTube channel as well. Done a training together. You can see his presentation, 3 hours, 22 minutes and 30 seconds in. So Next, at last, you're obviously familiar with me. I'm here every Tuesday. My little section, my little presentation, and this is to do with architects. We're trying to create an architect's party wall toolkit. The problem we always see is architects, unfortunately for them, are the first line of contact when it comes to residential works and people trying to do the extension and loft conversion for the first time. So they sort of unfairly get in the middle of it, and well, not really at the middle, but right at the beginning of it, because they then have to connect up to all the professionals that the householders need, and they're not always so strong about doing it, and hence we're often getting a number of householders who don't have the experience, haven't been through the process before, and always saying, look, we didn't know about party walls. So what we're trying to do is make sure that half the battle here is that make sure that people understand what they need to do for party walls and what's the most effective way. And we're saying to architects, look, we're here to help you. Try and leave a good taste in your client's mouth, rather than the other way around where you get problems and clients say, the architects didn't tell me, or I didn't know about party walls. So I wish I had £1 for every time I hear that. It's unbelievable at the moment. Moving on, this chap actually couldn't make it, but I had to do a little synopsis for him. Ab Singh, he's actually got a really interesting business. I had to ask him a number of times if it was real, but anyway, so his firm's iProperty, and what he does is, and at the moment it's in a little bit of a hole, but hopefully when we're out of this, when we're out of this scenario with the economy and the current situation, and I don't know if you follow Hollywood and all the film sets. There's a huge number of film sets, film studios being set up around West London. So you've got Pinewood, Elstree, there's some Skyway opening one. So what the additional thing that film sets need is film location. So, and Ab said to me, have you got any empty buildings or warehouses waiting for planning? So what the hell do you want to do with those? They're useless. And he said, well, he's got some contacts that guys in the film industry use. I thought, no, you've got to be kidding. But if you look at films and various things, they'll have these odd locations that are being used, old warehouses, old hangars, old so on. You know, any building that you think is a bit weird. Once you understand this, you'll see it occurring a lot. That a lot of the properties that they use are used as film sets. So 3 parts of his business: one's film sets. Second part he does is he looks for old properties that are waiting developments, and there he brings in guardians. So with the residential property, you're okay because the squatters can't occupy it. Squatters' right vanished about, I think it's 13th of October 2003. I could be wrong on that. That's when the old adverse possession law changed, by the way. So for homes, yes, that and residential property, that's fine. But where you're doing commercial developments, you need to understand that you can still get squatters. So that's why when you drive past empty pubs, you'll always see guarded by guardians or something. And that's one of his businesses, is that he takes part in an element of his business. And finally, if you're an architect and you want to sell a deal because you've just created planning and you know what's going on in terms of planning, get in touch and you might be able to help your client out realize the site for more money than it's worth. So that's another string to his bow. Luckily, he only does 3 things. He doesn't do, well, he might be doing more, I don't know. So my favorite, well, I'm going to say one of my favorite parts, and this was really fun. We had a chatbot company on. Now, these guys built this little chatbot for the Virtual Architect Summit. I've got some screenshots. They tell me off because, the way I got them to design it, they don't really like it, but it was very, very effective. As you can see the logo here, Virtual Architects Conference. Basically, part of the process was you could book your tickets automatically on Zoom. Here's a test trial because I couldn't show the other screenshots. Really effective way of doing it. And the way we did this was we got the spot built, and we got the advertising guys to put it on Facebook, and oh, magic, within 2 days we had people booking on, and the cost per acquisition is really, really low with this system of doing it. So if you're a business owner, these guys are worth looking at. Contact them. And you know, with the economy that's about to go into chaos, we're all going to need more business and new ways of acquiring it. So going there, there's a timestamp. They came in last but not least, 4 hours, 25 minutes and 10 seconds. Amazing presentation on chatbots, and it's particularly relevant for small and medium-sized businesses. Okay, that's enough of that. Could never get enough of it, actually. So a little change to our show. We're looking for architects to come on board, ask their questions. They have various experience. So if you're an architect, contact me, LinkedIn or email, send me a line, and we'd love to have you on the show, talk about your questions with Party Wall, how we can increase your understanding, so make it more interesting for our viewers. I think we've got some of our regulars on, so let me get on with this presentation. Let me see where the question tab is. I know one of you guys has sent questions in, so let me get on it. Can you explain? Excellent. Can you explain if we can mention about the government announcement, i.e. pandemic, in one of our clauses in the award, which states no work shall commence on Sunday, bank holidays or public holidays. No government, such as RICS or any professional body, has mentioned about this. Right, okay. So great question, thank you for that. In the awards, you'll have a restriction on hours. And the usual phrase, I would have dug it up actually for you guys. Usual phrase we get asked for is, no work shall take place, notifiable work, noisy notifiable work shall be between 8 to 6, Monday to Friday, Saturday 8 till 1, no work shall take place on Sunday and bank holiday. Right, okay. So the very first point to understand here, and you really got to explain this hard to both building owner and adjoining owner. And the reason you've got to explain it really well to them, the Party Wall Act, the Party Wall Award only deals with notifiable works. So it's not about everything that's going on the site. It's not your responsibility. It's the council that overtakes it. So first point, it's only notifiable works. It's not about all the other stuff that goes on building sites. And usually when you've got notifiable works, that they can, on a project, they can be somewhere between 1 to 3% of the works, I'd say. You know, once that's done, it's not your job to police the hours. So A, it's only notifiable works, and B, once the notifiable works are finished, it's for the local authority to determine the working hours. Now, I'm not sure where this is currently at in terms of working hours. So it's for the local authority to determine. And I know there was talk of working around the clock, Saturdays, Sundays, every day, so you can get stuff built, but I'm not sure where that is at the moment. So in terms of where we are with Party Wall stuff, we're only to determine the notifiable works, and it is our job to determine the hours of notifiable works. Now, on the other perspective, if it's the builder you're talking about, you just have to explain to them, look, it's only the notifiable works that I mentioned, it's not the other works. So simply flip it around. And I got a request from a very nice chap. His mother was elderly. He said, look, would you mind putting in that the works notifiable works can't start till 10 o'clock onwards and don't do anything on a Saturday. I did explain to him, you know, it only applies to notifiable works. And he really understood that. He said, yes, I understand that. So it was just a case of, and I did extend it and say, look, you realize they're going to make some noise in some other place doing something else. And he said, yes, I get that. But, you know, if you could put that in, I'll be grateful. So, and as a Party Wall surveyor, it is your job to determine the time and manner of works. So, A, it's only notifiable works. B, it is your job to determine the time and manner. And a lot of the time, this area is all about communication. So if you're saying to the builders, guys, it's only the notifiable works, just swap your other works around. And that's what's happening in effect. So hopefully that was helpful to you. No governing body or any professional has mentioned about this. Yes, because they've all got too much other stuff going on in the world. So yeah, and sometimes it's all about how you deal with it as a party wall surveyor. So great question. Thank you very much. And I am coming across this issue as well. There was another question I can't remember. I'm going to go through a really interesting question that actually I think I was talking about it to an architect yesterday. So this is talking about section 1 line of junction notices. So types of notice. So under section 1, there's 3 types of line of junction notice. There's section 1, subsection 5, foundation wholly on building owner's land. Subsection 2, build a party wall on the line of junction. That's astride the boundary. I'll come to that later on. And section 1.6, place footing on the adjoining owner's land as necessary. Right. So the key phrase we're looking for here is as necessary. Now, as you probably you may or may not realize that the Party Wall Act actually descends from a previous act called the London Building Act 1939, and in there at that point we didn't have computer modeling, we didn't have the experience, so eccentric foundations were a little bit odd, to say the least. And currently I have at least three conversations a week where the structural guys, the building control guys don't like eccentric foundations, but that's what you need to do. I'm going to come to this illustration later on. So, and the key phrase to watch here is as necessary. So being able to create eccentric foundations means it's no longer necessary to place footings on adjoining owner's land. All right, so let's get that clear. So and the second conversation is about scaffolding license. Let's run through quickly difference between line of junction and a boundary. So a boundary is from the center of the earth all the way to the top of the sky. That's your legal boundary. It's a three-dimensional thing. It's defined under the 1925 Property Law Act. It's actually different from the line of junction. Now, line of junction is the point where the two lands meet. So it's just at that particular point. It's an infinitesimally small line. There's no such thing as common land unless it's common land. So one of the other conversations one of the owners thought, well, that's my land, that's his land, and somewhere in between is common land. That's quite unusual. There is something called common land, but it's not usually between two sites. So just remember that you can get ransom strips. So that's a different thing anyway. So where the two lands meet, that's the line of junction. Now let's have a look at another example. So there's your legal boundary. There's a line of junction. By the way, if you go over the legal boundary, that's trespass. It's to do with air rights. It's another conversation. There's got a video about that. That's where Donald Trump made all his money, by the way, after he nearly went broke. Okay, so back to the subject. So, oops. There's your line of junction. If we're going to do a build wholly on the line of junction, we're going to put our foundations there, make sure they do not cross the boundary, because if they do, that's trespass. This is where all these guys creating drawings with a little nib, 25, 50 mil, stop doing it. Come on, you can't do it with eccentric foundations. And I'm going to explain why section 1 is the most helpful party wall notice of all. Okay, so we've got eccentric foundation there. We're going to build a wall right on the line of junction, but not cross over, and make sure that our gutters and all our other stuff doesn't go over. Please make sure of that. Basically, I think there's another illustration. So assumed boundary, because party wall surveyors aren't allowed to determine boundaries. That's the shortcut. Stuart will probably tell me off for that. There's your eccentric foundation. It's going right up to the line of boundary, struck line of junction. And we're building this wall on the line of junction. So both the foundation there and that wall are notifiable under the Party Wall Act. So if you had to put scaffolding up, you have rights of access on the adjoining owner's land under Section 8 to put scaffolding up. I had a case going on about this. It got really, really messy. I'm not going to go into that detail. So there's also build astride the boundary, which is where two owners are going to build extensions. They're quite friendly, or they are friendly before the building work starts, shall we say. One owner builds the extension first, second owner then goes second, then they share the wall. That's under Section 1.2. Also, Section 11.11 comes into play here, making use of costs. So let me try and illustrate that. For example, there's your boundary, there's your line of junction. Okay, so now, because they're going to share this wall, usually foundations are placed in the middle. Only to be fair, the wall goes in. Oops. And this owner, ignore this little bit there, that's the illustration. So this owner puts the extension up, and as you can see, it's crossed over a little bit, but that's because they've consented and it's part of the wall, and it's not going to go any further than the wall. And this is where you need to be really careful defining how far the wall's going to go over the boundary. And other things can get messy here, especially where the boundaries aren't straight and you've got boundaries to an angle. Watch out for that one. I might have to do another section on this. Second owner puts his extension up, makes use of this wall. There's some capping stuff there. I haven't gone into detail. That's for detail there. But in a sense, they don't build their own wall. They make use of it, and then that's covered by Section 11.11, making use of costs, and it's half the area that's enclosed, calculated at the date of when they make use of it. So if these guys did it 20 years ago and these guys make use of it now, it's the current cost of half the current cost of building that wall. Okay, moving on. Now this is where I think I've got the right one. Again, boundary, line of junction. Let's imagine these guys already have a single story extension and they're going to add a double story extension. This is not building on the line of junction. Once built on the line of junction, you can't build on it again. So if they're going to add a second story extension, that's not building on the line of junction. They do not have rights to put scaffolding on the adjoining owner's land. And unless these guys grant them a scaffolding license, not sure how they're going to build this. And it gets worse if it's 3 or 4 stories. You know, health and safety really got bananas on that. Single stories, yeah, you could get away. You could just build it overhand. It's not an issue. But if you've got 2 stories and you haven't got any means of doing it, if you had a slight gap, you could do it. You could potentially put your scaffolding and safeguarding there. It's still possible. But if you're building right up to it, line of junction is already built. This is not line of junction works. Unfortunately, unless you can get them to agree with your scaffolding license, you can't build it. So watch out for this scenario happening. And this is where you have to understand. So the planning guys don't understand all the other stuff that goes on. And this is where you have to sort of understand all the other areas that are involved. How do we get around it? You might have to build within, or you can ask these guys for a scaffolding license. So that's and I think I've come to the end of that bit. Okay, yeah, that's the end of that bit. I think there's another question dropped in. There's nothing mentioned in the clause about materials, i.e. scaffolding. Yeah, so there is nothing mentioned in today's clause. I think he means a word about scaffolding. So scaffolding license, separate area of law. It's to do with property rights, 1925 Act. You don't have, the only time you get rights to put so there's a couple of times where you could put scaffolding on the adjoining owner's land. It's under the Party Wall Act, Section 8, I believe, rights of entry, and it works in pursuance of the Act. It's not whenever you like, just for doing your digging. That's rubbish, right? So, sorry, be a bit more professional here. That's not the case. So, yeah, the only time you can put the scaffolding is when you're building on the line of junction. Let me take you back to to this scenario. So if this building wasn't there and you're going to build a 2-story extension in one go, you can put the scaffolding up and build it all in one go. Once this is built, that's not, that red part is not line of junction. You can't get scaffolding to build that, put that there. So I hope that difference comes through. Another question, does everyone's driveway fall under the party wall act? Well, could do. I mean, look, for example, if your driveways are there, there's two of them, this is where you got a shared driveway. If it's within 3 meters, yes, it does. Or you get the other scenario where you each got driveways, 2.4 meters. It's a different scenario. So I think the question you're asking here, does everyone's driveway fall under the act? It's about shared driveways and easements and what are they called? What's the phrase that comes to mind? The reciprocal rights of use. So it's a different question. I'm going to have to explain that one in detail. To do a 2nd story on top of a garage, how would you negotiate a scaffolding license? Well, good luck with that one. So first point is always try and get the neighbors on board. So, and the most helpful in my experience, most helpful thing you can do is to, and look, I know we're not always really on good terms with our neighbors, is to say to the neighbors, look, we're planning to do an extension. Here are my plans. You will be getting a party wall notice where it's applicable. And that could save you a lot of time, money and effort, because if you do that before you submit your planning, not only is it good neighborly and being open, but your neighbors are going to find out, because if you put your planning on a Monday, by Thursday or Friday, they're going to receive 12 to 16 letters from other surveyors chasing them to be their party wall surveyor. So they're definitely going to find out. So you can't hide it. So that helps you gain consent from a party wall perspective. The other thing is, it's sometimes known as a nibbling technique. And if you're a friend of mine told me about this. It's if you're in the world of the car traders, what they do is they'll chip away a bit at a time. So it's the old adage, don't eat how do you eat the elephant? One piece at a time. So, you know, you let them have the news that you're going to be doing an extension, get them the party wall bit, notice, and then you say, well, you know, we're going to need to put scaffolding up to guard your property. Would that be okay? So I guess that's the strategy I would follow. And also the other thing to remember is they're going to be looking at that wall. If you don't give them, if they don't give you access, they're going to have a rubbish wall to look at. So it's in their interest to have a nicer finished wall that they're going to view from their property. Otherwise, you know, overhand when you build stuff, it doesn't always come out great. So those are the 4 tips I can sort of that come to mind. I think we've overrun as usual. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me have your comments. Keep your questions coming in. I thought that was just an interesting conversation, and so line of junction is totally misunderstood, even by experienced developers. They don't realize the rights for scaffolding, and on the other side, people don't realize they don't have a right to put scaffolding if they're not building on the line of junction, and how you define building on the line of junction. So in this case, blue areas building on the line of junction, red's not. But if it was all being done in one go, then it is building on the line of junction. You do get rights to put scaffolding. I should have done a stick man with scaffolding here. That would have been good fun. Right, do a 2nd story top. How do we negotiate? Right, done that one. If you serve a party wall notice without certificate of posting, oh, thank you very much for that. The joining owners, they don't respond within 2 weeks, even through physically handed notice. Can you, no. So, okay. So if you serve it by hand, i.e. hand it to them, you don't do a certificate of posting, can you still follow the 10-4 process? I would say no, because you're on a little bit shaky grounds. They could say, well, you didn't give it to me. So the way to do it is hand it to them and say, look, it'll be coming in the post as well. And that's the formal process. So you do both. Yep. Jill,
as a BOS was arguing with me that health and safety regulations do not.
Yeah, so I've got a question from another swear. Health and safety regulations does not need to be in the ward. No, they don't. So the only thing you're talking about is the Party Wall Act. There is a clause that says everything needs to be built within current statutory regulations. And basically, if you overstep your role or if you over-define things as a party wall surveyor, you're going to get yourself into trouble. One, the award can be appealed. Secondly, if you've stipulated something that's not your remit, i.e. you're not a health and safety person, something goes wrong, you're going to get the blame for it. So be very, very careful not to overstep your boundary, overstep your jurisdiction, as they say. I think that's an American term, but it's used by lots of us. Don't overstep your remit. You're only there to do party wall stuff. Be very, very careful there.
What happens if hoarding collapses and breaks the adjoining owner's fence, which collapses and falls on the adjoining owner or the occupiers?
Right. I guess it's covered by insurance. B, if you didn't put the hoarding up, sorry, the question is, what happens if the hoarding falls and the adjoining owner, and it damages the adjoining owner's property or falls on the adjoining owners? So all you're saying is, this is the hoarding, this is the height it needs to be, this is how it should be done. You're not specifying the method statement. You shouldn't be, actually. You're just saying this is the height, we need to have it covered. The patio should be covered by polythene. And there's another clause that overrides that, saying it's all under health and safety. So if something goes wrong with that hoarding, it's the person, it's the parties who's put it up. And in the end, just like Party Wall Act, health and safety, it's the building owner that really gets to, that is ultimately responsible. So it's not our responsibility as party wall surveyors.
If you then serve notices again after 2 weeks, having not served with a co-post certificate posting, can you serve the second notice within?
No, okay. So, all right. So the question here is, if you didn't serve the notice with certificate of posting in the first place, and you're doing it 2 weeks later, can you serve the 10-4 letter at the same time? No, because you haven't done it. You haven't given them 14 days provable to respond. So you need to have two different certificates of posting. If it got, I'm just thinking, if it got to court, the court would say, no, you can't serve a 10-4 letter until there's a deemed dissent. And the first letter is only the notice. Obviously, I'm going overboard with the legal process, but stuff does end up in court, and you need to make sure you do it properly. So I'm not going to talk about this stuff now. I think we're going to have to, crikey, we're going to have to go soon. So here's a little booklet from the government, really good booklet. It's got all the stuff in it, not all that on notices. A little bit weak on how the notice is done, and few other issues on it, but we do try and augment that. We've got a checklist in our booklet, more than happy to send it to anyone who wants it. Here's a checklist. Again, the process here is defined. Give it to the adjoining owner, put a certificate of posting, do the land registry searches, file this. I mean, this little list looks like, oh, it's only a few ticks. I think it's 10 or 11 points. The chap who drafted this has got 25 years experience in IBM writing this stuff. I'm not going to quite say it, but I think it's almost idiot proof. But yeah, so really good piece of work here, actually. Ranjit, right. So we've come to the end of the session. Hopefully one of our sponsors are here. I'm going to see if I can mess the tech up while bringing him on board. Let's get you on board, Ranjit. We can manage that. Yep. Ranjit, are you there? Hey, well, no, I'm just watching my own slide on YouTube. Ranjit, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, welcome. So thank you for being there. Thank you for sponsoring this show. I hope you found that a little bit interesting. It was some, I definitely found the questions interesting, actually.
It's always interesting. Can you see my slide?
I've got my own slide, actually, that's like your slide, but let me see if I can help you share.
Okay, let's share the slide then.
Yeah, your slide is on, sir.
Oops.
Actually, if I make you host, you'll be able to share the slide.
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
All right, here we go. Usual technical stuff going on here. Right, off you go, sir. I think you're in charge. So welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being at the Architect Summit. I hope you found that was interesting.
Right. Can you see the slide, the new one?
You got a new slide. That's not fair. You didn't tell me about it. No, not yet. We can see you.
It's got a changing world.
What have you got on there?
It says September issue. It's got a changing world.
No.
No?
No, sorry. What have I done? You should be able to share your slides.
Can you take your slide off? The one on your end.
Yeah, well done. So I've got to, yeah, there you go. I like the t-shirt.
Huh?
I like the t-shirt, I said.
You like it? Okay. And can you see the slide now?
Yeah, we'll have to get you a party wall t-shirt as well, I think. So you can wear it on all.
Okay. Can you see that issue with the changing world on the front?
Yes, thank you. We've got it. Thank you.
That's just come out actually.
Right.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ranjit from Property Investor News. Property investment and development is not always smooth ride. It can be a roller coaster. Due to the COVID-19, it's new world, changing world ahead for the bold and the brave. We've been publishing this for the last 18 years, and our June 2020 issue was the 200th issue. Key features in our current edition relevant to your property businesses. UK market news, £42 billion plan to tax the rising house prices to pay for the coronavirus crisis and more. Housing targets, there will be 124,000 lost property sales in 2020 results of the lockdown. Service accommodation riding a short-term rental roller coaster. Furlough, what does the furlough and unemployment stat mean for the UK cities and the towns? Planning changes, part 2, planning consultant David Kemp. Selling at auction, great time to be a seller by Piotr Rusnik and Jay Howard. Stamp duty, how will Rishi Sunak's stamp duty holiday affect different house buying buyers? And much, much more. Remember, businesses don't fail, it's the people who run them fail. Question for you, do you have the expertise, the knowledge, and the insight to adapt and prosper? Let us help you on your journey to investing success. Subscribe today. You will get online education and marketing analysis every month. Access to 15,000 keyword search articles, 250 videos, and access to archival past webinars. Subscribe for just $7.95 a month. We do have a special offer, and the offer is if you subscribe, you get 4 issues of Property Investor News, including our 200th edition magazine and also the book Before the Hammer Falls. All that is free, and all you do is go to our website, www.property-investor-news.com, and subscribe there. Once you subscribe, then email me your name, postal address, and the long reference number, which the system will generate, to ranjit@property-investor-news.com. The reason why you have to send me an email, this is not an online offer, this is an event offer. So you must send me an email, otherwise you'll miss out on the offer. Remember what made you successful in the past won't in the future. The one reason that some people aren't as successful in life as others is for the mere fact that we come into the life without an instruction manual. You are basically on your own to figure out how you are to attain your success in property investing. Therefore, you must be a student of life and lifelong learner. So take the single step forward and subscribe to Property Investor News, and you'll get the 4 issues free and also the book. Thank you, Dil, for having us on. Lots of LOL, listen, observe, learn. Thank you for all listening, and back to you, Dil.
Ranjit, before you go, David Kemp was on the Architect Summit, really knows his stuff. When one of the things he said, and I couldn't get hold of the slide, unfortunately, in time, he's doing a masterclass for planning. I think it's 22nd, 23rd of September, I could be wrong. But it's in conjunction with your magazine. When's Richard Bowser's next webinar?
I'll have to find that out.
Okay, we'll put it on the screen. But if you go to Property Investor News, if you go to their website, Richard Bowser, who's the editor, is doing I think he does a weekly webinar, and they've got David Kemp doing a masterclass. It is a paid masterclass, but it's worth going to because all this stuff that's coming out, David's definitely analyzed it.
We did a part 1 a couple of weeks ago with David Kemp, the masterclass.
Okay.
And then we're doing also a second one, but I will find out the date and let you know shortly.
Great, thank you for that. And Ranjit, thank you for being one of our sponsors.
Thank you for having us, Dil.
It's always a privilege. Can I have my screen back now, please?
Yeah, you got your screen back.
I've got my screen back, right. What have I mucked up now? Sorry. Hopefully I haven't killed the meeting yet. But anyway, that's right. So, I've got to do the next one. So, Wren Kitchens, another one of our... Wren Kitchens is another one of our sponsors. There's Sanjay's details. If you get in touch with him, you're an architect or you're in the business, he'll give you a nice deal, hopefully, and he'll also do some nice plans to make you look like make you look good in front of your clients. So thank you for that. Great questions, really interesting stuff this week. Actually, it's always interesting being on here. It's never sure what's going on. Please look at our YouTube channel next week. We should have the Architect Summit on. And thank you for being here with us. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday and this Thursday, 2 p.m. No, what's going on, Ranjit?
Yes, the dates for David Kemp's stroke Property Investor News masterclass is 22nd and 23rd September. So
that is next.
That is
next Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, I believe it's in the evening, so I'll try and put the details on.
It's a daytime. It's from 2 till 6.
Well, competition there, but we'll have to see.
So it's a proper lot of information to share, and as there's a lot of changes being taking place, you need to, if you're serious about it.
Yeah, and that's over the 2 days, I believe.
Yeah, 2 days.
From memory, it's about 575 plus that. Yeah.
It was around that figure, yeah.
So that's just from memory. I could have that wrong. Definitely worth investing in.
Also, if anybody's interested, go onto our website, www.property-investor-news.com. You'll see the masterclass details there, and also there's a short video for the next week's one.
All right, and personally, I think it's definitely worth investing in. I'm going to have to keep the timing on next week's one really strict because I'm thinking I'm going to go on it. And by the way, I don't get a commission from David, so just to rule that out. So thank you for that, Ranjit, and thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thank you very much for everyone joining us.